and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, you have the top 10 series that I want to start in 2023. Yes, I have tried to make it a goal to finish series because there's a lot of series that I haven't finished, but there's also a lot of series that I want to start, and I had a hard time narrowing this down. And it's kind of funny because I have this stack of books here beside me. Two of the first books in the series I don't have. One, I'll explain in a moment. And the other because I ran out of holds available at my library. For me, the anticipation of starting all these books means despite the fact that I have so many good books already, I want to start all of these books. I want to read all of these books right now, and I'm going to have to send them back to the library without having read them, because there's no way that I'm starting all of these series in 1 month. Without further ado, let's get into this. So for some of these series, I actually know a good deal about them and will be able to give you a better summary than others. But I'm going to start in age order. Of the 10, one is middle grade, one is young adult, the other are all adult fantasy. All of them except for 2 are completed series and have been completed for a few years now at least. And one of them, I'm not sure how long it's going to last because the author has been writing other things as well. It may already be completed, but I'm not sure. So I'm catching up on the backlog of adult fantasy that I did not read for quite a while, neglecting the fact that I love fantasy because of this ill-conceived notion that I had based on the covers. 2022 is the year of Sanderson and Hobb. Now I'm branching out and I'm trying some new series. So I'm going to go in age order, and I'm going to start with Frostheart by Jamie Littler. This is inspired 100% by Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin. There are 3 books in this series, and it's fantasy, winter setting. I probably will start this for Polarthon in February probably with J.D. Ray Reads. And I have just heard amazing things about this, and I'm just really excited. It's not one that I remember a lot of right now, but it's a beloved middle grade series with an adorable character, so I'm really excited. Next, we have a series that I thought was just a duology, but may actually be a trilogy. And I rephrase that. There are probably 3 series that are still continuing if this is indeed a trilogy, because the second book came out this year, and that is the Defy the Night series by Bridget Kemmerer. I don't remember much. I don't know much about this book, but I'm still excited about it because of how much I love the A Curse So Dark and Lonely series, which is the other series that I have read by Bridget Kemmerer. So the first 2 books are out, Defy the Night and Defend the Dawn. I have heard that it's going to be a trilogy, but I don't know that for sure. Next, I'm going to talk about the other series that I do not have at hand, and it's going to make it a little bit more difficult to get. And this is a series that up until very recently was published only in the UK, but I've heard is getting a US edition. If it gets a US edition, then I will be purchasing it, and that is the Ninth Reign series. In this series, which is very highly talked about by Elliot Brooks and a few other people, you have this world where the rains come and they're like world ending, I believe, but there's a tree that both like gives life and helps this race of elf-like creatures protect the world. But this tree has died, and now these elf-like creatures, I believe they're called the Eboran, they feast on human blood. So there's a bit of vampire-ness to this, and vampires aren't my favorite, but I have heard such really good things about this series from a number of people. So I'm really excited to start this series, but if there are any series on this list that I don't get to this year, it's probably going to be that one, depending on how difficult it is to get a hold of the books. Next, we have the series that I don't know how long it is, and that the author is currently publishing other things. The thing that is coming out next for her is actually a prequel to a book that everyone thought was a standalone. This series is set in the near future in 2059, and it is the Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, and it features a main character who is a clairvoyant, and there's elements of paranormal, magical activities that go on. That's all I know for sure, but I've heard such amazing things about Samantha Shannon's writing that if I like this book, I might actually pick up The Behemoth of the Priory of the Orange Tree as well. Next, we have the other series that is ongoing. I believe there's just one more book to be published because it is a trilogy, and that is the Rook and the Rose trilogy. The first book is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. These are two authors writing as a duo, but I forget which two authors they are. In this, it's set in sort of a Renaissance Italy, Renaissance Venice setting where there's a thief, a con woman who cons her way into this noble family to get their money, but the family is bankrupt and on the outs, and now she's fully involved in this mess, and everything unfolds from there. I've heard really good things about this from Angela at Literature Science Alliance and one other person who I forget at the moment. And yes, I could say that these are also the 10 series that BookTube made me start because I knew nothing about them prior to this. So we have The Mask of Mirrors, which is the first book. I don't remember the name of the second book. I'm really terrible at this. I probably should have prepped more before filming this video, but I'm trying to bulk film before I go to New York. And I'm really excited about this. Next we have the Lycanus trilogy. Technically, this is the second book. I went ahead and got the second book for the purpose of this video because there was I would have had to put a hold on the first book and it wouldn't have come in time for the video. This is the Lycanus trilogy. The Shadow of What Was Lost is the first one. And I'd heard about it earlier in the year, but it's starting to get buzz from more and more people. And I believe this is just basically classic quest type fantasy for fans of Lord of the Rings, of Wheel of Time, done really well. And it just really intrigues me. And also, there's just something so satisfying about a book this chunky. So there's an index, 716 pages in this book. Most of the books on this list are very long. So will I be finishing any of these series in 2023? Probably not. The next series on the list is a trilogy recently concluded as of this year, and that is the Greenbone Saga. I thought at first that I wouldn't necessarily be compelled to read this book, even though it's so highly talked about and people love it so much. But after reading Foul Lady Fortune and seeing how the low fantasy stakes was intertwined with the political and historical machinations, I'm thinking back to the Greenbone Saga and I'm going, I'm probably really gonna like this. So I'm excited to try this. I've kind of saved my top 3 series that I want to start for last, and I'm not sure which one to do next. Okay, I'm gonna do this one. So we have the Chorus of Dragons series, and I've been hearing a lot about this and its unique writing style because there are basically 3 narrative voices going on in this series. The 5th and final book came out this year, and in this series, it's, at least in this first book and in the second book, it's a character telling his story, and he's in prison or something like that, and the person capturing his story actually stops him at one point and goes, oh, no, that's not actually your story. You need to start back here, and starts telling their story until they, come up and meet. And then the third perspective is actually in the footnotes, and I'm not sure how that's related, but I'm really excited, and I might have to listen to this one on audiobook because I noticed with Babbel that having a separate narrator for the footnotes really helps me read them at the proper time. And also I've heard that the narrators for all of these different perspectives give such good performances that really add to the story. So I'm really excited about the Course of Dragons series. And Jade from JD Reads really loves this series, and I have vibed pretty much entirely with everything that I have read that she has also read. So I think we have similar tastes, so that makes me look forward to this. Next, we have a very typical fantasy similar to the Lycanius trilogy in that sort of high fantasy vein, and that is Malice by John Gwynne. There are 4 books in this series, and I honestly don't know a lot about the series, but I am so hyped to read it. It seems like the classic kind of fantasy that I love. I'm not sure why, but this is a 14-day loan. It's not a new book. It was published in 2012. Anyway, the series is the Faithful and the Fallen series. He has a series coming out now. The second book came out this year that's set in, it's very Norse inspired. I don't think that this one is also Norse inspired. Okay, so I'm gonna read the last paragraph. Hopefully that'll give a really good idea. The Banished Lands has a violent past where armies of men and giants clashed in battle, but now giants stir anew, stones weep blood, and there are sightings of giant dragons. Those who can still read the signs see a threat far greater than the ancient wars. For if the Black Sea gains ascendancy, mankind's hopes and dreams will fall to dust, and it can never be made whole again. Really excited about this. Number 1 series that I want to start this year. And it's really a shame that I haven't started this yet, given how much I like this subgenre of fantasy. And that is City of Brass, the Daevabad trilogy. I love Arabian-inspired fantasy. I mean, look right here. Every Arabian fantasy that I've ever read, I've enjoyed. And some of them have become all-time favorites. And I've heard such amazing things about the Daevabad trilogy that I've got to get this started. So there you go. There are my top 10 series that I want to start in 2023. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one.